October 17th, 2023. For the citizens of the United States, this was nothing more but another day. People went into work while their kids went to school, and when the day was over, they met up back home, had their dinner, and watched whatever NBA game was on at the moment.
Oh my goodness!
But happening at the same time over on the northeastern hemisphere of the globe, war was ensuing. An explosion took place in the parking lot of the courtyard of Al Ali Arab Hospital in Gaza City, resulting in a large number of fatalities and injuries among displaced Palestinians seeking shelter there. To the people living in the United States, most would say this situation has nothing to do with us. With such physical distance between our countries, it can be hard to remember what's happening on the other side of the world and even question if we have any involvement. So this led me to wonder and try to answer the question: what role does the United States play in the conflict between Israel and Palestine? To understand this question, we first must understand the situation. The dispute between Israel and Palestine has been rooted for decades, competing claims over borders, land, and the control of Jerusalem in particular. But more recently, in late 2023, the two countries are at war over the Gaza Strip, which is currently governed by a group named Hamas, which after translation stands for Islamic Resistance Movement. Hamas is a political and militant branch from the Palestinian government, which whose ultimate goal is to destroy Israel entirely and replace it with an Islamic state. Hamas is an aggressive group which uses its display of power to retain authority, and they aren't afraid to make threats or take control. According to the 2021 Arab Barometer survey, only about 23% of Gaza's population supports their leaders in Hamas, with 75% saying they face food insecurity and 52% saying they have no trust in Hamas at all. On October 7th, war was declared by the Israeli government in response to a massive surprise attack from Hamas targeting the southern border of Israel, killing over 1,400 people and taking dozens more as hostages. Hamas's military leader, Mohammed Deif, said the group undertook its assault because of Israel's long-running blockade of Gaza, its occupation of Palestinian lands, and its alleged crimes against Muslims, including the desecration of Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The United States and Israel have had a long-lasting alliance formed in 1948 after the USA was the first country to offer recognition to the Israeli government, declaring their independence. Israel, along with Egypt, are the only two countries in the Middle East to be designated non-NATO allies to the United States. Following Hamas's initial surprise attack, President Biden stepped forward to express his remorse for the Israeli people, and shortly after he took military action. He then ordered the USS Gerald Ford carrier group into the western Mediterranean Sea, an additional fleet in the Persian Gulf, 3 warships, an array of air support, 2,000 troops on standby, and about $2 billion in additional funding to support Israel. Israel then made a move of their own and proceeded to launch deadly rocket fire into Gaza and later followed up with a ground assault. American-made arms have played a central role in the war. In the first month and a half, Israel dropped more than 22,000 guided and unguided bombs on Gaza that were supplied by Washington, according to previously undisclosed intelligence figures provided to Congress. And during that time, the United States has transferred at least 15,000 bombs, including 2,000-pound bunker busters and more than 50,000 155mm artillery shells. Since October 7th, over 18,000 innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed due to Israel's retaliation, leaving millions of Palestinians in crisis as they seek shelter following the decimation of their city. This leaves President Biden and the United States in a worsening dilemma. They have vowed to maintain their relationship with Israel, but at the same time promised to put human rights at the center of the U.S. foreign policy. So on October 18th, President Biden announced that the United States will provide $100 million in humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people affected by the conflict in Gaza. This funding through USAID and the U.S. Department of State grants supports through provisions of water, food, shelter, hygiene support, and healthcare services. Overall, the conflict continues to progress with every new day, and there's really no way to know how it'll end. To put it basically, the role of the United States is to defend Israel from the anti group of Hamas while simultaneously attempting to support the millions of displaced Palestinians through relocation, and supplies. There really is no good way to look at the situation. Both regions are facing mass casualties and displacement. I also believe this is a conflict in which there may not be a resolution, to which we can only hope for the best. Today we're joined with a political science major from the University of Colorado State. So actually, I guess, how are you doing today, huh?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just going over this pretty interesting topic here, but so let's get into the first questions. All right, the first question I have for you is: how can the United States prevent further death amongst civilians in Gaza?
So, I think that Israel is a close ally of the United States, and some of the biggest ways that the U.S. can prevent these civilian deaths on innocent Palestinians is by, either just president talking to the prime minister of Israel and, saying, okay, this is pretty serious. Like, we need y'all to stop, or just cut. For the U.S., obviously, like Israel is a really big strategic partner. So just cutting funding to them wouldn't be in the best interest for the U.S., but everything that's happened in Palestine is really messed up. So, from a moral perspective, cutting funding for Israel is another way that the U.S. could prevent the death of more innocent Palestinians, or just have some sort of agreement with the Prime Minister of Israel and say, like, look, like you've gone way overboard. Like, this needs to stop.
See, yeah, you make a good point there, considering the United States does provide Israel with most of their military funding. So, in which of that funding is being used to attack Gaza. So, yeah, that is a you make a good point there. You make a good point there. So, my next question would be, um, thinking like way long term. How do you see this conflict to end? Like, who comes out on top, or what do you think could happen?
So I think I know the U.S. has always supported a two-state solution. I believe that when you think of history-wise, that territory was originally taken, or not taken over, but I guess Palestinians originally lived in that territory state before now Israel people have been after World War II got transferred over, moved over. I think and the biggest way in the future that could solve this conflict is just creating two separate states where both sides, they just kind of live their own life. They don't worry about each other. They're just have two different states where I believe that's just the most simple solution into solving the conflict. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a neutral agreement. Just kind of for both of them, just accept what land they have and where they're at. Yeah, I agree. That'd be the best way, I think. Yeah. So another question is: as of now, the United States haven't taken any physical military action. They've only aided Israel in like weapons and money. But do you think the United States should take physical action and actually step in, and it might be able to reduce the attacks from Israel?
So I think that um, it's kind of similar to the first question. So physical action, I feel like is something that the U.S. probably wouldn't do. I would say it would probably start off from like just simple talks to the prime minister, just stop what's going on right now. And it's something that the U.S. obviously won't do, but they should, they should have been take physical action and stop the Israeli army from all these attacks. I think that it's a really difficult subject, obviously, to talk on because so from the U.S.'s perspective, fighting against Israel isn't going to be in the best interest for the U.S. But when you think of it from a moral perspective, obviously, it's what's happening is completely wrong. This shouldn't be happening. And the sad reality is, it's just all money. So U.S. fighting Israel, obviously, I think they should put a stop to it, whether it be physical, whether they cut the funding, whatever. But in the end, the U.S. is just going to do what's best for us. So that's my opinion on it.
And you do make a strong point saying the U.S. is going to do what is best for us at the end of the day. No matter, I mean, at least for me, I feel like the United States is only going to look out for themselves. So that it just really puts everything into perspective. Yeah, that was the last question I have for you. So appreciate you taking the time for coming out.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you.